Hello, I'm Masood and welcome to Ever Advancing Human Civilization. And I'm joined by my co-host, Lynette. Hello, Lynette.
Hello, how are you?
And we've got a special guest today, Raju. Hello, Raju.
Hello. How are you?
And he's going to be playing lovely guitar for us today as well. So today's video is going to be spirituality and the arts. So this is a series that we're starting from today. And today, specifically, we are focusing on music.
Right. So what exactly is art? When we think about art, what are the different forms that we can think of? And apart from music, there are the visual arts,
Yes.
like painting, sculpture.
Films?
Film, yes, sorry, because Masood is very into film.
Yeah.
And of course, music includes things like playing instruments, but also using the human voice to sing, which I can't do, but anyway.
Yeah.
But also included in arts, we might include art, craft. And I've got an example here of some crafts, folk art, and we're going to issue you a challenge at the end. So just have a little look at these
Maybe hold up a little bit longer.
three
so we can have
things.
a good look.
So all examples of the same kind of art, of folk art. And you can, if you know what they are, you can say where they originate from and what do they symbolize. Okay, so
Yeah, you can leave a comment below.
we'll remind you at the end about that. So this is what we're going to be discussing today, is the role of art, the spirituality of art, the role of art in spirituality, and particularly focusing on music. So today we're going to listen to a piece, a couple of pieces by Raju, who's going to play on his lovely classical guitar. Is that right, Raju?
Correct, that's
yes.
right. Absolutely.
And would you like to introduce the piece you're about to play?
Yes, okay. This is a composition of my own. It's actually in a style akin to some of the pieces recorded or composed in the last century, within the past century. So give it a go.
So we'll move out of the way so you can play. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you. So that piece that you just played, Raju, what does that mean to you? What made you? I mean, what makes
What
you
inspired
feel,
me to?
yeah, what inspired-
Well, I guess there are two answers to that question. One is a technical answer, and,
Yep.
which I'd say, well, I've learned a lot of pieces, practiced a lot over the years, and I thought, well, how do I compile all my skills into something of my own and put it out there? But a more important answer to that question is, where did it come from? Where did that expression come from? And the answer is, of course, my personal perspective of music is that music is the outer material expression of the inner soul. So you have a soul, every human being, we have a human spirit or the soul, and from it emanates various attributes. We have attributes such as the ability to be patient, the ability to love, the ability to be tolerant, the ability to make decisions, the ability to believe.
Yes.
And one of the things the human soul has the ability to do is to be able to express itself. And there's no better way in which it expresses itself than through music. A similar or a related expression form of art is probably the word, and music, of course.
Yes.
Music with word would be song.
So that might actually lead us to discussing what religious influence there was on music, and vice versa, what musical influence there was on religious. So I'll read a quote from the diaries of Juliet Thompson. She was actually, she wrote this, I think, during the time of Abdul-Baha, and she says in this quote, "In this cause, the art of music is of paramount importance. The Blessed Perfection Baha'u'llah, when he first came to the barracks, often repeated this statement: if among his immediate followers there were some who could play some musical instrument, for instance the flute or the harp, or who could sing, it would have charmed everyone. In short, musical melodies play an important role in the outward and inward qualities of man, for music is the inspirer and motive power of both the material and spiritual susceptibilities. What a motive power it is in feeling of love. When man is attracted to the love of God, music will have a great effect upon him."
I think we've seen that throughout religious history.
Yes.
Is that music has always seemed to play a part in a lot of rituals and every religious expression as a whole, whether it's instrumental or the human voice alone. I think it's always had a central part in people's lives. Yeah.
An example I can think of is choirs. Choirs, you associate choirs is and also gospel music as well. These are things that, when you associate that with, Christian gospel music or even Baha'i gospel music. Things like that.
Yes.
So there is that.
Yeah.
I guess.
You see, choirs are very interesting or harmony generally, because a choir is essentially a combined harmony of many human voices, 4-part harmony typically. Now you could generally say about harmony, because harmony is a very important part of music, particularly Western music. Harmony, if you think about it from a scientific perspective, is the resonance of sound waves that are equally spaced. They have a mathematical relationship that allows them to blend very nicely. If you look at it from a physics standpoint, two notes that are in harmony actually blend very nicely, sound waves. Yeah. Whereas two dissonant sound waves would sound like a dissonant piece of, it's very interesting. But, what I'm trying to say to you is that at the end of the day, what is sound? Sound is, or what is music? Music is basically sound waves. It's a material thing.
There is a
but it has an amazing impact
It does.
on the human soul. So much so that it can actually move someone to tears. It can move an army to war. It can do anything. It is such a powerful instrument. So much more powerful than many other things. So
obviously, we want music to be inspiration for peace and unity.
Well, of course, yes. I just use that as an analogy. Because, going back to what I said earlier, the fact of the matter is that music, the same piece of music, can have very different impact. I once spoke to a friend, and we went to this event, and there were these people, and they were dancing to some music, and it sounded pretty bad. They were dancing to it, that's my limitation. And I said to my friend, "Oh, isn't that terrible?" And he looked at me and said, "Look, Raju, the same piece of music to you may sound terrible, but to them, they can dance to it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't criticize them. Who are you to judge how they interpret that music?
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's a lot in what you say, and I've noticed that in different traditions, like there's Western tradition of music, which seems very melodic and so on, and then there's the Eastern tradition of music, which sometimes I think it uses even a different scale, doesn't it? And there are like notes in between the notes that Western musicians use, and it can sound a little strange at first, but for example, when you listen to the sitar and Indian music and even Chinese music, Chinese music in particular can actually, I love it. It sounds really beautiful, but it's a very different way. So I think that when we look at the history of music, we can see that it's one of the earliest expressions that humans have had. I grew up in East Africa, and the African women would be singing all the time. They would be pounding their corn, their mili mili, and they would just be doing it in a rhythm that would bring out the music. It was just, it was lovely. It was lovely to see this, that it's just an inherent part of civilization, really. And I think that now we have such a global world, a global civilization, that we're getting influences from everywhere, every culture. We've got things like classical has blended into more popular. You have rock musicians who've had a classical training and who can play beautiful pieces on classical guitar. It just seems like it's like a chord where all the sounds are blending together. So I think that it's wonderful, really.
And there's the poetry as well. So things like rap, people don't associate rap with poetry, but it can be very poetic and it can have a very positive influence.
So I think it's from that tradition of rebellion, isn't it? Like the beat poets.
That's where it might have started from. But
at the end of the day, art forms, music-related art forms, are expression, raw expression of sentiment, be it rebellion, be it praise of God, whatever. I mean, a lot of music has been composed over the centuries. Western classical music, for example, has been composed in praise of God. Take Bach's music. All of Bach's music.
Handel's Messiah.
Exactly.
It's just amazing.
And you could probably equally well say that about music from India, music from the Orient.
The ragas, are they called?
The ragas.
Ragas, that they play. Just amazing. So let's now look at the Baha'i perspective on what do the Baha'i writings say about music. And I'd just like to read you a couple of quotes. And this one is very well known, where Baha'u'llah says in the Most Holy Book, "We verily have made music as a ladder for your souls, a means whereby they may be lifted up unto the realm of high." And he adds an extra piece saying, "Make it not therefore as wings to self and passion." So use it as a ladder for your soul, for your spiritual development. And such is the importance of music that it also talks about the importance of teaching children from very young to learn the arts, all the arts and crafts, but including music. And later he says, Abdul Baha actually says, "In this new age, the manifest light hath in his holy tablets specifically proclaimed that music sung or played is spiritual food for soul and heart. The musician's art is among those arts worthy of the highest praise." So that really reflects what you were saying earlier about it's something that comes from the heart that affects the heart, and sometimes even it's in tune with the heartbeat, isn't it? You can hear those, especially those pulsating rhythms, of, well, I'm thinking of disco, boom, boom, boom. It's really a heartbeat, isn't it?
That's the thing. Different people like different music, I think, because of the heart rhythm. It kind of matches with the heart. Or at least that's the. I think that's the myth.
Yes.
But no, I think it does engender different emotions. But specifically, when you hear beautiful music played, it does really seem to uplift. And in Abdul Baha, I think, or Baha'u'llah's writings, they say that it is a balm to the soul that grieves.
Yes.
So it can really do that. It's. when I was listening to your piece, I don't know, what specifically kind of emotions you were trying to convey, but it was really uplifting. It was beautiful. It was like listening to the sound of a stream, or
No, you're not the first person to have said that.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
People say all kinds of things. That sounds like waves, Raju. That sounds like a stream. Yes,
well, because like at the beginning it was really fast,
Yeah.
and then it slowed down a bit. So yeah, the course of a
varying
river.
speed. Yeah, so you vary the speed. Yeah.
Yes,
So.
yeah, it's lovely.
So could we say that art plays a very important part in what we discussed, spiritual education?
Definitely. I think that should be included. In fact, I think in our children's classes, we always include the children in singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just children's classes, but also the study circles as well. The art is a very important part.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I remember when doing the study circles, one of the aspects of it was memorizing the quotes.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible at memorizing.
No, aren't we all?
So one of the techniques that was introduced to me by one of the tutors was actually singing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's amazing how putting something to music or putting a tune to a piece of text, you remember it.
Yeah.
You remember it
Absolutely.
completely. That's why people can remember their national anthems, for example. Or you can remember
don't
prayers,
remember.
or whatever. Yes,
Yeah.
all your prayers. The best way to
Yeah.
remember a prayer, if you intend to memorize it, or for that matter, the Bible or whatever, is is to put verses to music.
Yeah.
And that's how it's the human mind and soul are very interesting, aren't they?
It's very
Work together.
interesting. Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I would say more generally, when you go through life, the things you remember the most are the ones that have had an impact on your soul. Be they happy, sad.
Yeah.
That's what you remember the most. So, I mean, you could probably listen to music after 20 years and you'll remember it. I've done that. I find something on YouTube and I think, my God, I heard that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And something that really moved me back then, and
Yeah.
it's come back,
Very Proustian.
Thank God for YouTube. There you go.
Good. I'm glad we played a part in that. Okay, so that's the spiritual aspect of
Spiritual
music.
aspect, So just taking that topic a little bit further, how do we use music to convey peace and unity? So I think in the past there have been like music in the 70s and 60s where the lyrics of the songs were very powerful, and they promoted peace.
Yes.
So John Lennon's one was one example. Imagine.
Yes.
And there were a lot of other folk singers. So it's
I
a
mentioned
great
it.
tradition.
Yes, absolutely. So you've in folk tradition is typically about a lot of the times it is about rebellion, about against the system, whatever. But there's also a lot of folk music which highlights the need for peace, the need for. Now it's interesting. I mentioned earlier the fact that music in not so long, over the ages, has been used by armies. To
I didn't
call the
realise that.
battalion, yes, that's why they have the bugle boy. They have because what they
Yes,
do, and they've
that's
got the
right.
drummers, and that's what they have. It's
Yes,
essentially a
yes.
form of motivating an army to go to the front line. Now, and as I said, you see, because music is merely an instrument. It's a very powerful instrument that allows you to stir the soul,
So
motivate
it's
the soul,
inspiring courage and
so as you said, what we
solidarity.
really need to do, what is really needed to be done, is for music to be used as an instrument to motivate peace, to inspire the leaders of the world. It's very interesting what they do and what they've done as a tradition at the White House in the U.S. is they invite well-known artists, musicians, people who, be they folk singers, be they rap singers. They've invited them to perform to the president. It's an honor for the artist to do so, but
Absolutely.
why do they do that? Because, as I said earlier, what they're trying to do is they're trying to associate the message of that particular music form or that musician, and they convey that to the leader of the state. And perhaps they should have something along those lines of the United Nations. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
would be, wouldn't it? They could start
sure
off their
there are.
sessions
Yeah,
with
I'm sure.
music.
Actually, there were instances that I can think of. There were two groups that got together, and these were popular musicians at the time, One was the Live Aid one, if you remember,
Yes.
in the, was it in the 80s or
The
90s?
80s.
In the 80s, where the pop group or pop singers in Britain got together and they sang a unified song.
Yes.
Um,
It was a worldwide thing. They invited
worldwide
artists
thing.
from all over the world.
that's true.
But it was
Worldwide.
organized by Bob Geldof.
Bob
Yeah,
Geldof.
that's right.
And there was the American one, organized by Michael Jackson.
That's right.
And
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
That was We Are the World.
Yes.
So these were very powerful songs that were created by well-known artists. So I was wondering, could we put a challenge out to the Baha'i musicians and singers? Well, actually everybody, not just Baha'i musicians, and to yourself. Could we get a group together to sing about peace and unity? And we can actually be the central contact, if you like. The Ever Advancing Human Civilization can be a central contact. If you'd like to join on, please leave a comment below in the description, or send us an email, or send us a comment on our channel.
Yeah.
Would you think that's a good idea,
Oh,
Raju?
Well, I'm not sure.
Not putting you on the spot, but
Absolutely, it's a
See
fantastic
what-
idea,
see
and
what
I've
you can
always,
come up
I've
with.
always.
see, let us know what you think of the idea in the first place,
Yeah.
and if anybody wants to join up, please let us know, and I'm sure we can organize something.
Now that we have global means of telecommunication,
Exactly.
you can do things on
Yeah.
Skype, you can edit it and put it all together, and yeah.
And there's now Google Hangouts. It's wonderful stuff. Yeah.
So, okay, so I think we've almost come to the end of our program,
Yep.
but before we wrap up, I'd just like to show you again these artifacts that I've brought in for you to see if you can identify the culture that they come from and what they were actually an expression of, what were they used for.
And no zooming into the labels.
Yeah, I don't think you can read them from there.
So they're all spoons?
Well, yes, I think they
They're
are.
spoon-
They
okay.
have a spoon-like thing, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm not sure if I would eat my porridge with it. But anyway.
So maybe show this, because there's like a, what do you call it, fine...
So there's got a
Fine.
lot of fine carving in it.
Carving in
This
it.
one is actually carved out of a single piece of wood, including the little balls that are inside. So it's a very fine piece of work, except it's got a chip on the end. But anyway, yeah, and they just have different sort of, and you might recognise some of those sorts of scrolls and things like that that are in there as being from a particular culture, and that's one that my daughter gave me. All from the same country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want people to leave a comment
So
below?
leave a comment if you know what it is, and we will reveal the answer next week.
Yes.
Next
Well,
month,
not-
rather. Next
not
month.
next month.
Whenever you happen to watch it.
Yep.
But yes. Okay, so just a reminder that this is Ever Advancing Human Civilization. It's a monthly program which is released middle of every month. And we discuss how the Baha'i teachings can help us to build a better tomorrow by uniting humankind. And it's the Baha'i teachings really that give us the guide to doing this, to help us work together to unite the world and build an ever-advancing civilization. So it's really together that we can do it, not alone.
Yes.
The next video that we're going to do is going to be part 2, and we're going to look at the visual arts this time. If you liked this particular video today, can you please click on the thumbs up icon at the bottom so we know that you liked it, and subscribe to be notified when we release the next video. And that's really, before we hand over to Raju to play the last piece, what we normally say is peace.
Peace and goodwill.
Yes.
And I'd like to say thank you to Raju once
you,
again.
Raju.
Thank you for
Yeah.
Most welcome.
coming to this
Most welcome.
program.
And just introduce the piece that you're going to play for us.
I will indeed. I will.
Okay, and I'll move out of your way.
Sure. So this is a piece by a composer from Brazil. His name is Garoto, and this piece of music is called Inspiração, which means inspiration. So